Welcome back to the Rebel Movement podcast. Today with your host, Charlotte Albert. And I have a very special guest today, one of my favorite community queens, community builders. Her name is Inbal Claudia, and she's the founder of the Like-Minded community. And not only did she build an incredible network in just 2 years, she built it to over 2,500 women, but she's also a mom of three and has the biggest heart. And I've been watching her journey on social media for the last 2 years, how she's impacted the lives of so many women locally and also internationally. And I'm just so excited to bring on and share her insights and wisdom all around building community and the impact that it has on you and your business. So welcome, Inbal. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here, Charlotte. I love chatting with you. We can talk for hours. And thank you for that very sweet intro. I appreciate you.
Awesome. I really want to go back with you, Inbal, and kind of hear a little bit about your story and what motivated you to start a community. So many people start a business to make money and they're like, okay, I want to start my own business. But you were someone who was like, I want to start with building a community. Take us back to that and what inspired that?
Yeah, so I started a candle company about almost 9 years ago now. And I was doing really well. I was doing in-person shows and farmers markets and in retail locations. And then my first daughter was born, and I realized that I needed to pivot from in-person sales to virtual. And the bottom line is I had no idea how to do that. I had no entrepreneur friends. Everywhere I looked, people looked at me like a dollar sign, wanting to charge me hundreds of dollars for their courses or programs or memberships. And even Facebook groups had limitations, like I was not allowed to post about my business or links. And I just felt defeated. And so I knew that there had to be a place, because I knew that I was not alone, for women to just come together, make friendships with one another, support each other from a really genuine place. And that's what I wanted to build. And so that's where the idea for Like-Minded Collective came about. I was still making candles, and this was just something that I knew needed to be there, and I knew I wanted to make it free. And so it took me about 2.5 years to build out. It's completely custom. It's essentially Facebook meets LinkedIn, but just for women. With free networking, free community, free events. And yeah, it took a long time, but now it's been 2 years and it's just been so amazing. Now we're in person too. It's incredible.
And you have a second location on the East Coast.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we have
cool.
a second location now in Charleston, which is amazing. Angel's just like the perfect person to kick off, the different Like-Minded Collective chapters.
Beautiful. I'm having goosebumps just listening to you, just feeling your heart. I'm a big community builder too. I believe so much in us women coming together and supporting each other, and not only, with for business. I mean, business is great, and yes, in the end of the day, we all, have to make money, but there's so much more when you come together to just genuinely connect, to exchange ideas, to share experiences, to collaborate. And then like the business just flows so easily and effortlessly from that. So
I know,
really
it's
beautiful.
crazy. I have a group of 3 girlfriends who we met actually through Like-Minded Collective. They all do in-person, they all have an in-person community, and they do some sort of coaching and collaborating. And we started off just in Voxer, connecting with each other, and we spoke every single day. We were talking about our problems and issues that were arising and celebrating one another and brainstorming. And in October, they came to Orange County. We got an Airbnb and we masterminded together for 4 days. And 2 weeks ago, we all went to Sacramento to one of the other girls had an event. And the fact that we can all come together, all doing the same exact thing. Now, me and one of the other girls are launching a mastermind for community builders. Like, you're collaborating, you're really genuinely just wanting each other to do, amazing things and build each other up. So when you have that community, no matter how big or how small, The impact is honestly immeasurable. It's just so incredible to see.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's incredible. So, so cool. But now if you look at the other side, I mean, there's a lot of people who want to build community, and there's a lot of people who kind of struggle with building community. From your experience and about like looking back, or all the conversations that you've had over the years, what do you feel are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when building community?
I think being a community builder is very selfless, and it's a waiting game, right? It takes patience and it's a long game, because you want to build people's trust. And so I think the biggest mistakes that I see people make is creating a community for the sole purpose of converting clients and making money. You're not going to be able to retain the effort that you need to put into a community if that's the only reason why you're making it. And another, mistake I see people make is they're starting to build it. They really want it. And maybe 2 people are coming to their events, 5 people are coming to events, and then they cancel everything. They shut things down or they put things on hold. And so I think, lack of consistency is also something that, is detrimental to communities. So if you truly put effort into creating a community that focuses on your members and what they want and learn about them and connect with them individually, all while loving on the 1, 2, 5, 10 women that are in the room, then your community will be successful, because ultimately those women who show up consistently are your raving fans. And the way that you're going to grow is by them telling their friends and them telling their friends. And the way that they feel loved is if they feel seen, heard, and appreciated. So if you can make people feel that way, then they're going to come back to you. And not only that, they're going to tell their friends about you. And ultimately, it will turn into conversions, clients, customers. It just takes a little bit of time.
So interesting that you brought this up, because one of the questions that I asked one of my mentors who's a 7-figure, and I'm like, what do you think differentiates people who make it in this industry and the people who don't? And this woman has coached very successful people in the industry and's been around for a long time. And she said, it's staying power. It's the grids. It's the people who keep going when nothing seems to be working. And that really got me. And it's like, that's something that is is so difficult. And it's like so many people take these moments where you host an event, as you were just saying, and 2 people show up or 5 people show up, they see it as okay, it's not working, let me just cancel, and they're back out. I call this micro quitting. But truly, if you keep going and you embrace everything working for you, even as you start slow and things are moving, with just a few people, it is all working for you and just compounds over time. So I do agree. It's like you just got to stay in the game on these days when you're sweating, when you have sleepless nights, when you feel like, holy cow, like I just put my heart and soul on this live video or on this event, and it seems like no one is caring or coming. But the truth is, people are watching. And when you are sold on your vision and when you buy in yourself, ultimately, people will then buy into you and your vision as well.
Yeah,
So,
there's so many things that you said that I want to touch on really fast. For starters, it's okay if people come to your events and don't come back, right? Like that is okay. And I think a lot of people, myself included, in the beginning, I'm like, why are they not coming back? Why are they leaving? Why are they not logging onto my platform and commenting? It's not for everybody, and that is totally fine, And I think coming to that realization also makes you more at peace and able to move forward in a more positive way. I think anything kind of like what you said, where you put so much effort into like lives and workshops and nobody's showing up, regardless, that's practice for you, because you showed up, you practiced what you were going to say, you said it eloquently, and you may have made mistakes, right? Like I just fumbled my words, and you learn from that and you move on and you look at it as something that is a learning experience. And I think that just in general, when you look at things that you do and situations that you come across that maybe don't go as planned, try to figure out a way to look at it from a learning experience, different perspective. I will not lie. I had like so many hurdles building my platform from scratch, and with developers and tech issues and launch delays, I gave myself 24 hours to feel sorry for myself every time that happened. Like I was like, computer closed, crying, junk food, TV, and then I moved on, So give yourself that time, figure out what that means, but you better get back up and move on, because that's the only way that your community, which is so needed, will come to life.
I love the real talk. Yes, to junk food and TV and just like really being a mess sometimes.
Yeah,
This is
it's
honestly like the
okay.
conversation I've been having this morning with two of my clients who were like going through rough times. And it's like, you know what? It's so normal to go through that and give yourself the grace as you work through this. And I brought up this analogy because it completely changed my life as I went to Tony Robbins' event, Unleash Your Power, within November 2023. And he makes you walk over hot coal. It's like hot fire, and they prepare you mentally for this for like 3 hours. There are 10,000 people in the room. You've been up for 10 hours already. Then it's like, 1 a.m. and you have to walk over these hot coals. You're exhausted, you're tired, but also your energy is so high. You feel unstoppable. And there's so much fear walking through this. And you walk over the fire and you don't even feel a thing. You feel, and then on the other side, when you walk through this and you're on this other side, you feel like you can take over the freaking world. You're like, oh gosh, I just walked through this. We prepared for like, we've been on 16 hours now. Like I just walked over hot coils, and I use this analogy so often when shit hits the fan, because you just walk through the hot coils and then you come out on the other side and you're so much stronger. You have learned a new lesson and you become unstoppable. Like nothing is gonna move you or shake you if you have the staying power and just walk through this. So cool. I'm
I
loving this
love it.
conversation.
That's so true. That's how I felt after my first in-person event. Like my girlfriends that I was telling you I'm in a community with, like a group chat. So they've all done in-person events. And so when I was like, I want to launch my in-person community, they were like, obviously all for it. And we worked on it together. And I voice noted them as I was leaving. It was as if I was on drugs. I was like so high on life. And when I work with women and help them build out their own communities, and I like hear them after their events, I'm like, save this recording, because it will be ups and downs, but you have to remember that feeling you have after your in-person events, and like you brought these women together. How incredible is that feeling, But yeah, it's that same feeling where you're like, oh my God, this is the best drug ever.
Yes. Yes to being high on life by building community.
Yes.
So good. What
Yes.
is like one of the questions that you get from the women that you are mentoring who want to build their own community? What do you think is like one thing that's coming up the most?
So there's two questions that come up the most. How do I increase engagement? And usually they're talking about a virtual aspect, right? Whether they're in Facebook groups or Circle or Mighty Networks. And the second question I get is, where should I host my community? Like Facebook groups, Circle, Mighty Networks. And my answer to that is, you don't even need to have any of that. People are so hyper focused on having a virtual space or community when the community isn't the space, right? It's the connections when you bring women or people in general, if you're having men in your community as well, into a room together. And so it's as easy as just sending out a Zoom link and having just a conversation, right? Hey, we're hanging out on Monday at noon. Here's the Zoom link. You send it out to your entire email list and people come in, And it's just for people to remember that Facebook groups and Mighty Networks and Circle, all those virtual spaces are fine if they're needed. And you're not going to know if they're needed until you bring people into the room, you create those connections, you do some market research, and you talk to the people who are showing up. And then if they say, hey, we'd love a virtual community, then great, that's your answer. But if they're like, no, this is great, I hate Facebook groups, I don't like another thing to log into, I don't have time, maybe they're a busy mom, then that's your answer too, right? You don't want to add stressors when it's unnecessary. So either send out an email for a location and a date if you're doing an in-person meetup, either coffee, yoga, whatever it is, or a Zoom link, and just get people to show up and talk to them and hang out. So those are the two questions. I'm like, they all have to do with the virtual, like get people out of a space and just get them talking live.
Yes, and it also sparks creativity, right? This is how we drive innovation. Like we don't have to build community in a way that it's always been done and how we see other people succeed, especially if you don't like it that way,
Right.
like sometimes there's people who think they now have to build a Facebook group because a lot of people have their own Facebook group, but they really don't like them. And they're like, okay, I have to build community and now I have to do this Facebook thing. And the moment you put all the shoulds and the have tos in your business and in your life, everything becomes so heavy. I'm like, where's the joy? And your energy will be ultimately impacted by that. So I love how you simplify things and be like, okay, what do you want to do? What is fun for you? How do you want to connect with people and keep it so simple, just bringing people together because community is about a feeling, right?
I
It's just
know,
like,
exactly. It's
yeah.
amazing that you say that because I had, like I said in the beginning, I had no experience, right? I had no experience in this world. I had no friends to ask questions to, and I was kind of figuring it out on my own and taking a lot of advice from people who were not in my shoes. They were not community builders. They were not tech founders. They were not, membership coaches. And I started implementing and eventually got to a point where I was like, I lost my why completely. Like, I don't even know who I am, what my business is, what my mission is. And so I canceled all the memberships and I just made everything free. And I was like, because I had it free, then I started a membership because that's what I was told to do and I should do. And then I canceled everything. And for a year, everything was completely free. And it felt like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders while I was able to talk to people, host more events, like increase engagement. And then I was able to figure out how to move forward. But it's exactly like you said, like you get in your own head about like shoulds and I have to's and this, and it's just a mess. Like go back to what you want and your why.
Yes. It's like this whole put the cart in front of the horse kind of game, right? You put all these
Mhm.
structures in there that ultimately limit you and never birth the business that you want to bring to life.
Right. Right.
So, oh, so good. This is amazing. So now, how many people do you have in your community? How big is it? And how many countries are in there? I'm so
Oh
curious.
my gosh, I think there's like over 20 countries. Last time I checked, there's almost 3,000 women virtually. And then my in-person community, we're getting about like 200 something women that we're having conversations with. We just launched a membership 2 weeks ago for my in-person community. And so that's really exciting to see people start to invest in themselves because I launched my in-person, and this is also a really great example. I launched my in-person community 10 months ago, and there was one paid event, and all of the other 5 or 6 events monthly were free. And so it's like building that relationship, building that trust, figuring out how I want to structure the in-person community before launching a membership and being like, okay, this is what they want. This is what they can pay. This is the value they're going to get. And then you launch that and it's like, okay, this is what it's supposed to be because I talk to people, and I did that research and development. So that's where we're at in person.
So amazing. Having conversations and understanding what is it that they want and what they need. This is how you birth your offers. Like,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly. And even like my feedback forms, they used to be so elaborate. And now I'm like, is this your first event? Yes or no? What did you like? What did you dislike? Like, it's so easy because I don't want it to be too much of an ask for people, right? To like log in, they see a million questions. They're like, oh, I don't want to do this. It's like 3 easy questions. Give me what you like. Give me what you don't like. Use one word, use 10 paragraphs. I really don't care. Just let me know. And so people are more willing to fill it out when it's like that.
Yes, absolutely. Simplicity is everything. Inbal, I've been loving this conversation and I can talk to you forever. But we want to know, like everyone who's listening to this podcast is now going to be so inspired by your energy and is want to be in your world. So how can people connect with you? How can they find you? And we will link to all of that below inside the show notes of this podcast.
Awesome. Yay. So my Instagram is Inbal Claudio. My website is inbalclaudio.com, and it has everything from there. How to work with me one-on-one, my virtual community, and my in-person community. You can find everything on there.
So good. And Bala's been part of our BC Festival as well. So her amazing training all around community is actually still live inside the Rubber Movement membership as well. So if you want to dive in more and learn more about Inbal and how to build community, there's actually a $1 trial for everyone who's listening to the podcast. So come check her out and dive into that training because it is mind blowing. I remember when I listened to it in the car and I left her a voice note right that moment. I'm like, this is so good. Like everything that she drops is just so eye-opening, so refreshing for entrepreneurs. I feel like we've entered this world right now where everything is so complicated. Like you have to have all these things in place that so many people feel, especially moms like you and I feel like, I don't think I can do this right now. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. But hearing you speak of how you built this, yes, it took time and energy, but a lot of the things that blocks people from building a business are not there. All of these complicated funnels and things like that, because it's simply not necessary.
I
So
know, I know. It's so wild. It'll come, but just keep it simple, right? That's what they say.
yes, let's bring it back to the basics.
Yeah.
Inbal, thank you so much for being here today. It was so much fun speaking to you. Is there anything else you want to leave with our listeners before we hop off the recording?
Oh my gosh, I feel like we covered a lot and this conversation was amazing. The training I did do for the festival was incredible. And even when I was writing, I'm like, oh, I need to like reuse this somehow too. It's like so, so good. I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving me the time to, educate on community. It's truly what I love talking about. And I just adore you so much. And I think you're incredible. And the way that you build community is so, so, so special as well. So people should take notes from you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.